Question from Ish. So, got a few questions here. I'm a men's coach specializing in conscious intimacy, relationships, and rite of passage work, mountaineering, fasting, feminine cleanse, uh, meaning abstaining from contact with the feminine. I help men go from NPCs, non-playable characters, to the first player in their life, so they can die having lived a life they can be proud of. To me, all that seems clear. I'd say generally that's clear. Um, I think the Island A could be more specific and urgent. That there are going to be certain moments where a guy thinks to himself, I'm living like an NPC. There's certain symptoms. So this is the homework. And for everyone who's watching this, consider this. So what we have is a diagnosis, right? That men are kind of living as NPCs. They may use that language, they may not. I've never heard a guy refer to himself as an NPC. Um, but so I think what we have here is a bit of a diagnosis, right? That men are being these non-playable characters. And your prescription is you've got to become the first player in your life, using the kind of video game analogy. Okay, so if a man is basically acting like an NPC, what are the symptoms of that? What happens in their life predictably that is a direct result of what's happening in that diagnosis? Because I get that. So men's coach, that's the boat, specializing in conscious intimacy relationships. So that's kind of the general track it's in. Rite of passage work, right? Mountaineering, fasting, feminine cleanse. That's the boat. That's what you do. Helping men go from NPCs to first player in their life. It's sort of a general niche. I mean, it's not entirely just diagnosis, because I could see men hearing that and saying, oh, that resonates with me. And I think that could be more specific and more honed to what is the particular way this is showing up in their life. What are their real symptoms and the urgent ones? Right. Okay. But he says, to me, all that seems clear. I help men befriend their fears and make something out of their lives. So befriend their fears, that's a prescription, but it's not their trouble that they're coming with. Like, how do I befriend my fears? Says nobody ever. And make something out of their lives. Great. So they're probably craving that. That's probably a good, have a life that you're proud of, make something out of your life. I could see men saying that. My point of view is that where your fear is lies your power and your gift. But a voice in my head says that's too broad and it's not specific enough. The voice in your head is telling you the truth. My story is that I've lived a very interesting life, but it's also not something that a lot of men can resonate with. I grew up illegally in the tech scene, but also spiritual. I feel like I'm in two different worlds most of the time, and that people won't understand what I do. It's my own imposter syndrome. How do I work with it? So, yeah, you may be from two different worlds. Now, I don't think I understand this well enough to be certain about this, but for myself, I had this foot in the marketing world and the foot in the hippie world, and the marketing for hippies brought them together. Sometimes those are the most interesting niches, is the bridging of two different worlds. So for everyone watching this, just to consider, are there different scenes and communities you're a part of? And are some of them kind of contrasting, like they don't really hang out with each other, but you're a bridge between them? That kind of thing is very interesting as a niche. So yes, I do think the niche generally, I get it. I think there's more specificity that could come. The point of view, it's where your fear lies your power and your gift. That's good. I mean, the point of view, that part doesn't have to be too specific. It's just that the journey has to be specific. And if you're feeling like your point of view is too broad, it's probably a sign that your niche is a little too broad. And yeah, so you've lived this very interesting life. And now Ish and I had spoken on a puttering session one-on-one. And what I recall is that uh, going through this, growing up illegally, teaches one a lot about how to live with fear and how to relate to fear, which gives a credibility on here's what I'm going to help you do is deal with this fear. But now, if we tie some of these things together, right, you've got men who are NPCs, and then there's something about fear, right, and befriending their fears. So there's something about fear that is having men be these NPCs and building a life they're proud of and making something of their lives is on the other side of that fear, that they're going to have to deal with their fear to do it. So then my question is, one, are they aware that they're scared? Because if they're aware, it's a symptom. If not, it's a diagnosis. Is there a specific type of fear in particular that you help men overcome? Because, it could be fear of public speaking, fear of sauerkraut, fear of um, fences, fear of snakes, fear of success, fear of visibility. There's a lot of fears that humans have. So, is there a particular kind of fear that you most want to help men with? Because then that connects to your life of, hey, I know fear because I grew up illegally, and so I do have a relationship with that. I've had to learn how to deal with it. I would say if you are, for anyone, if you're ever feeling a sense of imposter syndrome, there's a few possibilities here. One is it's actually not your niche. You're doing the wrong work. You haven't quite landed on the niche because, in my experience, when people land on their niche, there's a sort of Shazam, oh my God, this is what I'm here to do. And the imposter syndrome, a lot of it goes away. Second thing imposter syndrome can be is, and I don't think that's the case here, is people find their work, they find their authentic niche, and then they're told to market in a way that feels terrible and gross to them. And so then they're posturing in the way they're like their work is composed and authentic, but the marketing is posturing. And so then they start to feel scared they're going to get busted. Um, for being fake, which is true. They're being fake. But and the third is sometimes we just have emotional wounds. Like we actually sometimes this can happen where you hit the work you're meant to do. And because it's so close to the bone, it's so close to our wounds, just everything comes up. It brings up any of the unhealed wounds for healing. So it could be that. It could be that you haven't. My sense is there's maybe a bit of both. One ish there's some honing to do on the niche, which is having you feel like it's not quite landed yet, which I think is true. But second is there's just probably hitting some stuff. Sometimes when the fear comes up, it's actually a very good sign. It just means you found something you care about. So I would say keep honing the niche, keep refining the symptoms, keep trying to think of the situation. And this is so important for everybody. We're looking for situations, not sensations. Yeah, sensations are not that specific. Or like we've all had every sensation basically at some scale, some level, but we have definitely not been in all situations. Um, and given how out of touch we are with our bodies and our emotions, speaking to sensations is not always the most direct. The situation or sensations, the situations they're in, people can recognize, and that's what we want to do. So you keep honing that, and then you'll notice what happens with the fear. Does the fear diminish? Does it increase? Uh, and then you'll take a next step. But beautiful work you're doing.